Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Canadian Gamers. It's actually not the weekend, and it's not like 2 a.m., and we're actually together, Steven and I. Hooray! Huzzah! Nothing. I get nothing. You suck. Well, say hello so people know that I'm not just talking to myself.
Damn you. I wanted to keep quiet as long as possible to drive you crazy, but you forced me out of the shadows.
Yes, I forced him out of the shadows. So, what's new? What's exciting? What's happening? Clearly, you've been playing a million games while I have been reading, studying, working on case files. You know, the usual.
Yeah, I've played 2 games since we last talked. One of them is the Little Dragons Cafe, which I talked about in the last episode of Fanboys. I've now completed it, and my opinions have changed a bit on it. I like it more than I did the last time I talked about it, but there's a lot of flaws and a lot of ways this game could be improved. There were talks of a possible sequel, so if they do that, hopefully they'll improve a lot on it. And I'm a bit pissed because it's the second straight Switch title that does not record my gameplay time correctly. I've talked about this in the last podcast, but with the Messenger, if you look at my profile, it says that I've played it for 25 hours, even though I have 2 save files of 20 plus hours each. And on Little Dragons Cafe, if I load my file, it says 32 hours, but when you look at my profile, it says 25 hours plus. So I've sent Nintendo an email. I know it's a very minor issue, and it is. It's not like it's the end of the world, but I kind of like this feature on the Switch. It's not as good as on the 3DS, but at least here you can actually show people this stuff, which I really like to, and I also like to see what other people have been playing. I wish that instead of like 25 hours, they would show the exact same time like on the 3DS, and I wish they wouldn't limit you to 20 titles, but the whole library and whatever. But I'm a bit confused as why the last 2 titles I've played have showcased an error like this, because I didn't have this issue before, and I hope it stops with these 2 titles. And finally, I've played Mega Man 11. Completed it on Sunday. I was actually lucky because Amazon shipped it to me early, so I got it on Friday, even though the game was only out on Tuesday. And the reviews are now out, but they were out on Monday. The embargo was on Monday, and it's pretty much what I felt. Like, if you're a hardcore Mega Man fan, which I'm not, I've only played 2 Mega Man titles, the mainline series at least. I thought they've added some things that felt a little bit unnecessary, like the double gear system in this game is basically, it lets you slow down time or boost power up your weapons, either the L or the R buttons. And even though these are not necessary to play the game, like, the game was designed with that system in mind, so I don't really like that aspect in a Mega Man title. I wish they kept things a bit more simple, but besides that, I'm sure Mega Man fans will love it. It's still a pretty decent game, and I was surprised by the visuals. I thought the visuals would throw me off, but I actually liked them. So yeah, those are the 2 titles I've been playing lately. So I'm guessing you have been playing nothing?
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. I had a midterm this past, what was it, Saturday? Yeah, this past Saturday. And we also had a research paper that's due for Friday, plus a case study that's also due for Friday. And just for good measure, they gave us 7 chapters to read this week because, you know, working 40 hours a week plus all of that is completely acceptable, naturally. I honestly, I'm at a point where I'm scratching my head going, like, I don't get this. I mean, you're responsible for all of the same content that you would be in a full-time MBA program with no with no work. And I actually talked with some of the administrators there saying, like, I don't get it, guys. Like, part of the way it works is you have to be employed. And that's cool and all. But, like, for real, how in the bloody hell do you expect anyone to be able to read all of this stuff and do all of this work? Like, it's okay to have a midterm, and it's okay to have, like, you know, an assignment due, stuff like that. No problem. That's not a problem. But the fact that you have multiple things, like, is kind of brutal. Like, really, really brutal. Like, next week, I don't even know how I'm going to do it. I had to take a day off today just to catch up in terms of the readings because, like, I have about 500 pages I have to read for Friday. And I just laughed. I finished my research paper, which was great, and I finished my marketing assignment, that was great, and my little cat saying hello. But yeah, just really starting to wonder, like, in the way they design the program, like, what the hell? And what's really crazy is that the hard part hasn't even begun. Like, the hard part begins in 2 weeks, and that's where it ramps up, and then it ramps up one last time about the second week of November. So it's really messed up, man. So that's been my video game, and it's been a really interesting one. It's been fantastic. So far, so good, though. I mean, it's all, you know, I'm doing it. It's just holy crap. But I spoke with a lot of the other students, and like from like that have already done the first year, and they said that it gets way easier as time goes on because you don't have quite as many things due at the exact same time. They're like, they don't even understand themselves why the first semester is so brutal. They're like, it gets significantly easier as it goes along, which is really weird. But anyway, so that's that. That's awesome.
When is your first break?
I get 2 weeks off in December.
Amazing.
Yeah, not bad, eh? But the real break will be next summer because we fly to Vietnam, China, and Japan in May. But school itself, I believe, I don't have it with me here, but I believe it's finished in April. Sometime in April, I believe it's done. Actually, no, that's right. No, the way it works is you have your exams. That's right. So you have your exams, and then it's like the day after the final exam, you fly out to Vietnam. Like, it's brutal. It's really, really brutal. But when you come back, because that's about 2 to 3 weeks, then school only starts back up in August. So at least you do get some time off there, which I'm happy about. So anyway,
awesome.
Yeah, but once it's done, man, it's done, you know? That's the way I'm looking at it. Like, I'm not even gonna know what to do with myself. I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, I have all this free time. Like, what do I do? So anyway,
well, you'll probably take on like 15 more projects to make sure you don't have more free time.
Probably. I'm learning a lot of stuff of what to do with this channel, though, and like, I'm getting some very interesting ideas from this course. So we'll see what happens there. Anyways, so let's officially begin. So we'll start this off with the kind of sad news, which is about Telltale Games, and it is sad. The story is essentially that they were looking for, I think it was Lionsgate was the last like the last company that they were going to for funding and stuff like that. I don't really understand all the details of what happened here. It just seems like they overextended themselves and the sales just weren't there. It's weird. I was reading an article about this with, well, I guess the CEO or whatever, the president or whatever he was called of the company. And that's what he kept saying. He kept saying that, you know, like they would have critically acclaimed games, but just that the sales weren't there. And I thought that was really interesting because I thought their games sold well.
Yeah, I don't. The thing is, I would consider myself a Telltale fan. Like, I really loved when they released The Walking Dead Season 1. And then I played The Wolf Among Us, which I thought was really awesome. Then I went on a little hiatus. But last year or the year before, I played, like, Game of Thrones and Tales of the Borderlands and Batman. Really loving those all of a sudden in one blow. But the problem with Telltale is, I'll give you an example, and that's only my opinion, is that, let's say a game like Zelda, like you adore Zelda, right?
Yeah.
Let's say they would release 3 Zeldas every year. What would happen? Eventually, you probably would stop, or you wouldn't even care about it anymore. Like, I'll give you the perfect example. I adore Guardians of the Galaxy. I didn't even realize that Guardians of the Galaxy, the Telltale game, came out last year. I didn't even know that. And I'm a Telltale fan, and I'm a Guardians of the Galaxy fan. Like, in my opinion, they were releasing way too much stuff.
Okay.
And also, they never actually invested in themselves. Since the beginning, they've always had problems with their engine. Like, I had issues with Batman. Like, I completely lost all my progress in that game. When I started episode 4, I basically started fresh, and every decision I made in the previous episodes were gone. I've had issues where, like, for some reason, the skin of the faces of the characters during cutscenes were gone. All I would see were eyeballs. It was hilarious. And I think with Game of Thrones, there were people that it would delete their saves and stuff like that. Like, they've had issues since day one, and it's always there. They've never took the time to invest in themselves, make their games better. I think what they should have done is release 1 or 2 games a year, and that's it. There's also some debate whether the episodic model works, because they're really the only people who use it. Like, Capcom tried it with Resident Evil, and I don't think they ever tried it again. There's one other company that's doing it right now, and I'm forgetting who it is, but maybe it'll come back to me. But this is a model that might work and might not work. It's hard to tell. I don't have the data in front of me. But I think the major problem is that they just released too much stuff and had too many projects going all the time. And also, they were probably terribly managed by whoever was in charge, because they let their employees know about this 30 minutes before the end of the day. And they also learned that they wouldn't get severance, and their health insurance was due at the end of the month. So this doesn't sound to me like a company that was well managed.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that was just it. I think the way, I think you really nailed it. I mean, I don't really have too much to add to that because of what you said. I think they did exactly what you said. I think they oversaturated their market. I think the way they were allocating their funds was probably like all over the place, and just the way this was handled, it was really poor. It was really poorly handled, and I think that was pretty much it, you know? And, like, so basically, everything that they were working on is essentially canceled. I mean, they're finishing up the Minecraft story mode for Netflix. You sent, like, in your notes there, but everything else is pretty much canceled. And, like, if you bought any of the season passes for any of those other particular games, especially like The Walking Dead there, the final season, yeah, you're pretty much screwed. So, and that sucks. But
They have been in talks apparently to finish that season. There's still some hope, which I find weird, because they have been asking for other publishers or help financially somewhere else to complete that season. In my opinion, they should worry about paying their employees first. It's like, it's weird.
well,
It's like, even also today, I believe we're Wednesday, today or yesterday, Batman Season 2 just got released on Switch. That was a game that was already completed. Of course, it's not, but I asked you if this was going to happen. It still happened. It's still out today. Season 2, like Walking Dead, like episode 2 was out last week. So, and until, like, I believe this weekend, you could still buy the season pass on the Switch. You couldn't on the PS4 and Xbox One, but you could on the Switch. Like, there's some mismanagement going on, and I think
clearly
you hear about that a lot in the gaming industry.
you do.
Of companies like mistreating their employees, and it's not always the case, of course, but like, I don't know of if I ever did this, but I never worked a day in my life without getting paid. Like, I would never agree to work something not knowing if I would get paid. I don't know how you could do that, but this is what happens. Many of them did like several overtime that they will never see a dime from that. There was even someone who just moved in the week this was announced from Australia with his family, and he learned that the company was going under. Like, he just moved. Like, how can you mismanage a company like this?
Yeah, man, it's pretty sad. But like you said, it's common, you know, and I think not a lot of reason why, but I think one of the reasons why is because all too often in the video game industry, much like many other industries that are started, or at least companies that are started by friends and stuff like that, this is what happens. Like, none of these people have business experience. You know what I mean? Like, they're all programmers or they're creative types or whatever. That does not make you a good business person. That does not give you the tools necessary to run your own organization. I mean, that's just not what happens. And I'm seeing that more and more. There's a guy in my MBA program that worked for the video game industry, and he said the exact same thing as you. He's like, every company, every single company from Ubisoft to any of the other ones that he's worked for, they have all run like this, all of them, where it's like you can tell that they don't have any business acumen. Like, they don't know what the hell they're doing. They treat people like garbage, and it all stems from the fact that these companies started with no knowledge of how to actually do business and treat employees and build your company. And most of them just got super lucky that, you know, you release a game and boom, it sold, 500,000 copies. That's enough money for you to keep going and keep going. And it's funny because I was watching a video the other day about Spyro. And it was all about the history of Spyro. And it was very interesting because, like every other company, like Insomniac started as just guys. You know what I mean? Like, just a bunch of people that got together that wanted to make, like some game, and there you go. But again, that does not make you a good business person. It doesn't make you a good boss. Now, I'm not saying that everybody has to go to school and everybody's got, no, of course not. Some of the best CEOs on earth didn't go to school and have formal education, but it does help. Like, it does help you to understand why human resources exist, why you treat people the way you do, why you create learning organizations and have organizational development and all stuff like that. It's so that these sorts of things don't happen. And of course, naturally, you can't predict the future, right? Like, you never know. You could release the next Legend of Zelda, as you said, and it could be the world's biggest bomb. It sells 3 copies, like they release a 2D Mario and 1 person buys it, Steven. Like, the chances of that happening, of course, are astronomically low if you know how to handle your properties, like, properly. And I think all of these things are what ultimately took out Telltale Games.
Another important factor you just mentioned, properties, is that, like, Telltale Games has no actual IPs of their own.
Yep.
There's zero value to that company.
Yep.
All they did was license games, so they, of course, didn't make as much money of their games as other people because they have licensing fees and what have you.
Yeah.
So that's another issue with them. They never actually, like, worked on their own stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also why in a situation like this, they have nothing to fall back on. You see, like, your THQs, your Acclaims, and all these companies, when they went under, at the very least for not necessarily employees, but for shareholders and things like that, they were able to generate some money through the sale of their intellectual properties. But like you say, what IP does Telltale Games have? They have their engine, and that's about it. Like, so anyways, just, I don't want to, stick on this forever. It's sad. It is sad, and I feel for all the developers there, especially the way this was handled, that you had no idea. I mean, you came into work, like you said, someone moves from Australia here, and then you find out, like, that afternoon or whatever, like, oh, sorry, but we're pretty much shutting things down. It's like, what? So that sucks, man. That really, really sucks. So my heartfelt sympathies go out to all of you guys that are suffering from that, and that really sucks. Okay, so number 2 is something I just found out about. So our second topic is, this is really funny, the PlayStation Classic. I would have pre-ordered the hell out of this. So here, you can go ahead and buy me that for my Christmas gift if you'd like. I'll allow it. Yeah, I would have jumped on this, but I you know, I've been so out of it. So basically, I found out about this maybe 2 days ago, something like that. It's going to be $99 US, so 130 Canadian, which is about right with the dollar value. Comes with 2 controllers, but they're the original SNES controllers, as I call them. So they're not the DualShock controllers. Now that might perplex some people, but it depends on what they're doing here, okay? And I wanted to talk a little bit about this because some people may not know this. The DualShock, the original DualShock, was introduced on November 20th, 1997. Now, if you recall, the PlayStation actually lasted until, well, the PlayStation 1 lasted well into the life of the PlayStation 2, which was, you know, well, what, 2000, 2001, I think is probably where she started to like fizzle out a little bit. It comes with 20 preloaded titles, and so far, this is all I could find, so far, they've only announced like 5 titles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, so it's Jumping Flash, which is that rabbit game, Wild Arms, Final Fantasy VII, Tekken 3, Ridge Racer Type 4, and that's it for now. So, here's the deal, because I've seen a lot of people online talking about the DualShock, like they're going over and over and over again about the DualShock. And I agree, it's an interesting choice to package this without the DualShock. Because, as I just said, late 1997 is when the DualShock was announced, released. And all those games like that they're talking about, you can easily play with just a D-pad. No problem at all. However, there's no way that this set does not include Metal Gear Solid. It's impossible. It's just, it is. I'm sorry. It's not possible that this does not include Metal Gear Solid. And Metal Gear Solid was one of those games where it was like you needed the rumble feature. You know, like I can't imagine them. I really cannot imagine them releasing something called the PlayStation Classic without Metal Gear Solid. That is really the equivalent of Nintendo releasing the N64 without Ocarina of Time. And I mean, I guess you could. I just don't remember. Can you even play Metal Gear Solid with the D-pad?
Yeah, I think from my memory, Ape Escape, is that the only game that you required the analogs to play?
The Ape Escape is the only one that had the dual analog.
Like, yeah, but you could not play that game without them, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's right. And they won't include that, obviously.
Yeah, obviously, because they can't. But, yeah, I believe you can play Metal Gear Solid without them.
Because that would be not the same. I'll tell you that. That really would not be the same. So I'm wondering if... this is something that I was thinking of. I was like, well, what if they released their bunch of games, right? Whatever those 20 games are. And I'm wondering if they later on sell like a DualShock thing separately. I mean, that's...
No, they confirmed that there will be no modular content after that.
Oh,
this is like the NES and SCS Classic. That's it. The games you get, you can't add more games after that. There won't be more accessories. That's it.
Okay. All right. Well, then there you go. Well, that sucks. No, I mean, like, okay, so let's go through this, right? We have a couple of games. I'm really glad that they announced Final Fantasy VII, like, because to me there are certain games on the PlayStation that you have to have, like you have to have. So what other games for you must be on this?
Yeah, that's a problem. Like, You would think the Crash Bandicoot trilogy would be on this, but it won't be because they just released the trilogy on the PS4 and other systems. Same with Spyro. Like, what will be on this? I'm confused.
You get confused easy.
Yeah, I do. I do get confused easily. But for me, when I saw this announcement and I saw the price, I was like, oh my God, really? $99 for this? You don't think that's a little? In my opinion, it's like $40 overpriced if you ask me.
Well, what was the NES Classic? Because
the NES Classic was $60, but didn't it have like 60 games or 50 games? And the SNES Classic was also $60, but I think had 30 or 35 games on it, right?
I think you're overinflating the number of games. Yeah, the SNES had 20. And
are you sure about this? The SNES only had 20.
I'm on the main thing right now. Play 20 classic titles.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's why. Like, you're overinflating how much it is, and it's $79.99 was the SNES Classic.
21 games on the SNES Classic, damn it! But yeah, it's only.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
sorry,
it's a lot less than I thought.
Exactly. So 21 games for $79.99, and that's US. So it's not that horrible considering you're getting, the two controllers type of thing, and they're it's the next generation type of thing. I mean, it's not great. I would feel much more comfortable if I knew what games were included, and I don't understand.
Yeah, that's the other issue I have is that. Why did they choose to open up the pre-orders without the full game list?
Yeah.
Is it because they're not confident in the list and they want people to pre-order the thing, and they know that if they release the full 20 titles that people would not want this console as much? Because that seems weird. This thing is coming out soon. Like, why wouldn't you announce all the 20 games on it? Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, for me, that is the weirdest,
And even Final Fantasy VII, pretty cool game, except it's coming to the Switch, to the Xbox One. It's coming everywhere soon. Like, it's these, like, I don't see... It's a weird little system right now. I'm not fearful of it selling. I know it will sell, but I don't understand, like, the appeal. And having said that, like I have been on record that the PlayStation 1 and the N64 generation is my least favorite. So, like, for me, that I might just be biased against this, but I just think this is way overpriced for what you're getting, especially since you don't even know. You're still missing 15 titles there, and like I said, some of the classics like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, I don't think will be on there. If you talk about Metal Gear Solid, like there was a GameCube remake of that game that's much superior. Like, I don't know.
Well, for me, this could be one of the greatest, like, classic type of like systems ever if they ignore everything you're saying. So, like, because you could have Symphony of the Night on there. You could have
Chrono you won't have Symphony of the Night. You know why? Because Symphony of the Night is getting released on the PlayStation 4 in a few weeks.
I get all of that.
Same with Resident Evil. Resident Evil the remake is available on the PS4.
But that's my point. No, that's my point. Like, if they treat this as its own standalone thing, have like Oddworld on there, have Gran Turismo, have Resident Evil 2, because you're not going to put Resident Evil 1, I doubt.
Yeah, but Resident Evil 2 has a remake coming up, No.
Again, I get,
I'm just playing a devil's advocate here.
I get all of that. If you truly want to celebrate the PlayStation, you don't have a choice. Like, you really don't have a choice but to add those
There's also, I've heard concerns about if you add like a Resident Evil or Metal Gear Solid, like this would instantly become M-rated now, and I'm not sure if Sony are worried about that. I don't know if they are, but it then become less of like you can't buy that for your child. I'm sure some parents won't mind, but
well, that's the thing. I mean, like, what differentiated PlayStation? That That is what differentiated it. That's what separated it from everyone else, was the fact that, they, I don't want to say introduced, but they really brought home this idea of mature games that were not meant for kids. So if they released a PlayStation Classic and it does not include any of that stuff, then you're kind of, scratching your head going, well, what the hell's the logic of this system? It makes no sense. Like that's for me. And I think you're probably right in the sense of why they only announced five titles, is because of all the reasons that you stipulated. And you're right, you're not wrong. Like, there's a Resident Evil 2 remake coming out. Spyro and Crash have their their trilogies out, and you can keep going, and but without any of those games, this is not a PlayStation Classic. It's as simple as that. It's just not, because those games are what helped make PlayStation what it is. Like, you cannot have a PlayStation like classic, if you will, without the original Resident Evil or Resident Evil 2. You just cannot. You can't. It's impossible. You can't have a PlayStation Classic without Symphony of the Night. It's another one of these things, or Metal Gear Solid. Like, it's not possible. These are games that they're the Ocarina of Time, you know what I mean? They're Super Mario 64. Like, these games were so super influential for that particular platform that you don't really have a choice. Otherwise, why the hell are you releasing this? Like, who are you catering this to? Kids? Families? That's not who bought PlayStation. So, anyways, whatever. We shall see. It's gonna be interesting to see when they actually announce this, but it's a bizarre move. Let's put it that way. Okay, number 3. I keep saying number. Our third item is Sony finally allowing cross-play on the PlayStation 4. And considering I just spoke for 20 minutes, go ahead and explain why this is relevant.
Yeah, this is relevant because they were the only company not allowing crossplay. Even Nintendo, of all people, were allowing crossplay on their platform. And like, this was starting to piss off publishers. Like, Bethesda said that their card game, I believe Elder Scrolls Legends, was not going to be released on PS4 if it did not support crossplay. There was that whole debacle with Fortnite, which Fortnite, if you have a Fortnite account on the PS4, your account was locked to that system, so you could not like play on the Switch or on the Xbox and keep all your cosmetics and stuff like that. Now this is apparently all fixed, and Sony will, for the foreseeable future, allow crossplay on all their platforms. So this is a huge win for gamers, and one less thing that people have to complain about Sony. So that's very good.
Good. Awesome. I don't really have anything to add to that, so well said, good sir. Next up, we have Spider-Man becomes the fastest selling PlayStation first-party game in history. Is it actually a first-party game?
Yep.
How do we know that?
But it's published by Sony.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Interesting. So 3.3 million sold in the first 3 weeks, eclipses the previous record holder of God of War. Which God of War? 3?
No, the one that was released in May.
Oh, okay, the whatever, it was just called God of War. Okay, right. By 200,000. Nice. All right.
Yeah, that's pretty good that this year 2 titles have become the fastest selling Sony titles ever. That's quite impressive.
I wonder how The Last of Us is going to do.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure The Last of Us will eclipse those, which is scary.
Yeah,
because they're selling very, very well. Like, Sony is onto something with the PlayStation 4 right now. So
yeah, I know. It's funny. I've been hearing a lot of like my colleagues and stuff are like, oh, PS5 should be coming out around the corner. I'm like, guys, with the success that they're having right now with PS4, like, do we even know what it is up to in terms of like global units?
I think it's more than 80. That I know. So I think by the end of the year it might surpass 100 million.
All right, let's see. Let's see what we got. well, this is old as hell. Yeah, you must be right. December 7th, okay, 2017, it had topped 70 million. Wow,
Yeah, so
man.
it will be maybe not by the end of the year, but next year it will surpass 100 million. So
yeah,
like, this will be the third.
Wow, shit, man. It's at 83 million.
This will be the third Sony console out of 4 to surpass 100 million. And by comparison, Nintendo only has one, which is the Wii.
That's nuts, man.
Like if they have portables that have surpassed that, but as far as consoles, Nintendo only has one, and Sony is 3 out of 4 right now with their console. So, as much as people talk about how much the Switch is selling, which I think is a bit over exaggerated because it's slowing down, like the PS4 really isn't. Like it's crazy how much the PS4 is selling, and people don't seem to talk about it as much as they do with the Switch, which I don't know about the Switch. How much the Switch will do next year or the year after that, where like all it's getting is Nintendo titles and nothing else.
Man, this is nuts. The PlayStation 4 by December will surpass the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's crazy.
I'm pretty sure they already surpassed them.
Well, yeah, most likely. It's just officially. Like they haven't released any. I can't find any like press releases or anything like that. But this is nuts.
Because they have like Spider-Man sold a lot of consoles. They also have like as far as exclusives, they don't have anything else for the rest of the year. But Red Dead Redemption 2,
yeah.
Call of Duty Black Ops 4, those are 2 titles, especially Red Dead, that will push PlayStation 4 out of stores like crazy. And that's something unfortunately the Switch will never have, is third-party titles driving people to the store to buy a Switch, which is something people underestimate a bit because Nintendo can only do so much.
No, you're right, man. No one. That's it. Man, I'm looking at these sales. This is messed up. Holy crap, man. Wow. I didn't realize that. Jeez. Well, good on them. Good for them. But that's why, like, I was telling my colleagues, I was like, guys, you're not, like, they're not in a hurry. You know what I mean?
They are not, but, like, apparently PlayStation 5 games are already in development, and most people are saying that 2020 is when it will be released, which I don't know why people are such in a hurry. They keep saying that, like, that PCs, like, the power difference is so huge and whatnot, and I'm like, yeah, but who cares? Like the customers are saying that they don't care. I don't understand why there's such a hurry for that, because it will happen sooner than you think, and I just don't see why, unless like the PlayStation 4 had like a huge like drop in momentum, which doesn't seem like it is. But maybe by 2020 it will have slowed down a bit.
Yeah, I mean
because you only have you have The Last of Us 2 coming out. You have the guys who did Uncharted on Vita, they're what's their name? Ben,
Days Gone.
Sony Ben. Yeah, they have Days Gone coming. Then they have Dreams, which I don't think will be a huge seller, and that game from Kojima, there, Death Stranding, which will probably be a PS4, PS5 game, and will all come out like in 2020 or 2021. So you don't have that much left. So it's and Sony has canceled, or not canceled, but has said that there's no PSX this year. Yep. Because they have nothing, like they don't have anything, no surprising announcement to announce. So they said, why bother, which is the correct call in my opinion, because they don't have anything coming up, and I think they're slowly but surely preparing up for the PS5.
Yeah, and to be fair, like to be totally fair, you have to make that call almost like, before PS4 is out. Like you have to have product placement and understand where are we going with this particular product, even if it hasn't even sold one unit yet, and then go from there. So like I get it. I totally understand how that works. It's just, when you do have an explosive hit on your hand, you got to be careful as well, because you're kind of like, well, okay, wait a second now. Like, do we really want to release, it's like the PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2 is a perfect example of that. And I know people like they have their own beliefs and whatever, but Grand Theft Auto 3 on the PS2 basically gave that platform a whole, like, 2 to 3 years of extra life, which was perfect because they were working on the cell processor for the PlayStation 3, which would end up being a huge debacle in and of itself. But that's irrelevant. The fact is, like, it got like a second wind. With the PS4, it's been fascinating to watch this because it never really slowed down. Like, it's been doing really, really well since day one. And
It's funny that you mentioned the cell processor, because that thing, to this day, Sony is not able to port PS3 games on the PS4. Like, just digital games, they can't do it because the PS4 can't run those games. And someone, I think the mod community has just finished, like, I've heard about this, modding the Uncharted games to the PC, and they run like total crap. Like, what was the deal with that thing? How come it's so hard?
Because it was I think it was 9-core processor. Like, it was just a really, really unique processor that they created, and that's that. Like, it's as simple as that. It's like we're at dual cores, quad cores, but this beast, like, well, here, let me look it up. But I remember it had like a ridiculous amount of cores in it, and that will do it. It'll make it just a really unique processor. So let's see, what was it called? Cell processor. Yeah,
I just find it funny that the PS4 can't run PS3 games. Like,
well,
it was so complicated.
Yeah, but take a look at the Sega Saturn. There's a reason why Sega Saturn emulation is so hard, and why to this day, even with supercomputers and all this, you know, they still, not every game, but some games run like total ass. And this is a system that goes back to the N64, for God's sakes. And it has to do with that the architecture of the system was just so unbelievably unique. How many processors? Oh boy. It just tells me a multi-core. It doesn't actually say. Anyways, I don't want to look up. I know that it had a ridiculous amount of cores. Let's 21 matches for core. Nice. Nice. Yeah, no. Okay, anyway, whatever. I can't find it, but it was a multi-core processor, and that's really one of the main things that caused it to be really complicated. And also with the graphics card and so on and so forth, it was a really unique beast. And whenever you create these unique beasts, this is what happens. Exactly like with the Saturn, it was a really unique, like, architecture that, like, it's just really challenging to port these things over. And that doesn't mean that the PS3 is more powerful than, you know, the PS5. It's just, it is what it is. And there's a reason, like I say, why Saturn emulation, so many, like, people don't even bother with it, because they're like, it's not worth it, you know? And I think that's what Sony is sort of looking at. They're like, it's not really worth the investment that they're going to have to put into it just to port over, like, the Uncharted titles and a few others. So anyways, all right, so we also have Nintendo in dispute with Amazon France. Damn Amazon. So why? What's going on? What's happening here? So basically, apparently, they're unhappy with the fact that Amazon is cutting prices. Really? On their Switch console. Why? Is it not doing well in Europe?
No, it's because Amazon, they do this even in the US and Canada sometimes. Like, they'll have, like, Smash Brothers, instead of being $80 for a week, it'll be $65. Stuff like that. They'll do that for the Switch. They'll cut $10 or $20 off for a week or two. And apparently Nintendo doesn't want them to do that because it undermines the other, like, let's say EB Games and Walmart and stuff like that. I don't know what chains are in Europe, but they don't want them to basically do that. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they want to protect their other partners. because Amazon is the one taking the cut here. It's not Nintendo. Nintendo's still selling the stock at the same price.
Right.
It's just Amazon is cutting themselves a profit margin to try and put their competition out of business or something. It's just a practice that I guess Nintendo France doesn't want Amazon to do.
Do you know any more about like the story? Like what exactly are they doing? Like, are they just talking to them, or are they?
No, they've told them that they're not getting any more stock at all.
Nice.
So if you go to Amazon France, which I'm sure you do often,
always,
like Amazon, if you try to buy a Switch or a game for the Switch, they will they will only have third-party sellers on there. They won't have an official Amazon price.
Wow.
Yep.
Well,
Nintendo's playing hardball with them, and I'm not sure if it's a smart idea. Like, I see both sides of the coins here, but like, if I'm selling a product for like $400 and somebody wants to sell it at $300, but they still pay me like $350 for it, like, go ahead. I'll sell more. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's not worth it in the long run because you're gonna piss off the other partners who can't match it. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's not you. Like that's the thing that I don't understand.
Yeah, but once, let's say Amazon eventually succeeds and everybody else is out of business, then you only have them to sell your console, and then they can basically play hardball with you.
Yeah, no, that I understand. But I mean, like in this sense, I mean, like, you know, all's fair in love and war type of thing. So I don't know. Well, that's going to be interesting to see, and you're obviously into this, so be sure to keep us all posted of this, because I find that very interesting. All right, now something else that I wanted to discuss just very, very quickly that I found out, interestingly enough, from Twitter, was that Konami has introduced a brand new Castlevania Portal site. Now, it's not the most impressive thing in the world. You can tell that it like, you know, it was just created. And I think it was created as a means of hyping up the Castlevania Season 2 Netflix miniseries. When is that coming out? It should be soon, no?
Yeah, I believe it's the 20th of October, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Close to Halloween.
Yeah, exactly, which makes sense. And we also have the mashup of Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night, which is coming out on PS4. I forget what it's actually called.
Requiem?
Requiem?
Yeah, I think it is. And man, it sucks.
Requiem?
I get it. Sony is involved with this, so that's why it's a PS4 exclusive. But I would have loved to have that on Switch. Plus, it makes sense with Simon Belmont and Richter Belmont being in Smash. Like there has to be something in the works with Nintendo here somewhere, because it would make sense to have Castlevania on the Switch.
I agree. I think that's kind of like, what the hell. But whatever. I mean, you know, exclusive deals aside, this particular site is fascinating because it's something that I've wondered for many, 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 many years of why the hell Konami didn't have their own official portal for the series. And I keep saying portal. So basically what it is your one-stop shop for all things Castlevania video game related. You can cycle between Japan, Europe, and North America, and it has a full history of every single game that has ever been released for the Castlevania series. It even links to like the different digital shops, tells you like, oh, you can buy this on the Wii U Virtual Console, and all kinds of crazy stuff, which I thought was really, really cool, actually. And not only that, but they have like a new product sort of like tab, and you can click that, and right now all it has is Castlevania Requiem, but it's very clear that there's space for more games. And as this is one of my favorite like action series, I really hope that Konami comes back with this particular series. And I always think of it at Halloween because it's just, you know, it's kind of the theme, it's fitting. And you mentioned the Switch, and it's like, man, I would just love to have, you know, another like 2D, I was going to say Metroid, Castlevania game. It would just be awesome. Be it in the vein of Symphony of the Night, be it in the vein of like, Rondo of Blood, whatever. I'll accept either or, because I'd love to, just have that music and everything would just be so kick-ass again. I would just love that. And it was so much fun going through Bloodstained that, you know, yeah, it scratches that itch, but there's nothing like really the main Castlevania series. Now, I don't want to get my hopes up because, you know, Konami being Konami right now, but it really boggles my mind to think what Konami has like turned into. I just really don't understand it.
They've probably started this whole portal just to hype up their new pachinko Castlevania machines.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, or their new iPhone games. I don't know.
I don't know either, but it's nice. It was just nice. It was really nice to go, and I checked it out this morning, and I was like, this is pretty cool. You know, seeing all those original box arts for Castlevania, all the way through Bloodlines, and then the N64 games, and just the whole thing brought back a lot of memories. And I was like, man, you guys, I still don't get it. Like, one day we'll have to have a real conversation about that, because like when SNK went the way of the pachinko machine, I understood it, you know, like they had one platform. They were releasing games on a Neo Geo like hardware that was basically extinct at that particular point. Their games weren't selling well. It made sense. It just totally made sense. With Konami, on the other hand, I don't get it. I never really paid attention to their financials. Okay, so that's the first caveat that I got to mention, because like it's possible that their financials sucked, but it's like, you know, no offense to SNK fans, but the King of Fighters isn't Castlevania, isn't Metal Gear Solid, isn't Silent Hill. Like, these are 3 franchises that were huge. Like, I just don't get, how do you go from that to pachinko machines? I don't get it.
No, me either. Like, maybe their games weren't selling as much as you think. I don't know. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, maybe it is. That's it. But it, like, for me, it's like the equivalent of Capcom just saying, "Well, okay, guys, we're going into you know, defibrillators now," and you're like, "What?"
Well, look at Mega Man with Capcom. Like,
well, exactly.
They haven't really necessarily treated that franchise that well over the years, so maybe that's a fair comparison.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been very I don't know. I've just been very confused, and I'm not like everyone else with like up yours, Konami, and all this sort of stuff. I've just been lost. I've been really confused over what the hell this organization has been doing. And then they did something bizarre, and they released like Bomberman for Switch, and you're like, what? Like, what? And
they're still releasing content for that game, I
know,
which is funny.
Like, I don't get it. I just don't get it. Like, give me a new Silent Hill, man. Give me a Castlevania game. Like, have you ever played Silent Hill, like, for real?
Not long.
Yeah, I didn't think so, because that's a game, like, that series, especially like the first 3, man. Oh my god. Like, those first 3 were legitimately scary. I remember in the 3rd one when you had to go down into like a subway with no lights on, and you're going into like a train station, you know what I mean? Like a subway station. And you have to run between one car and the next car, and you got like all these horrible sound effects all around you. I was just like, okay, I'm actually scared, you know? I'm straight up like, got the surround sound going, no lights on in the your place, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna, if something touches me, I'm gonna scream like Steven. And like, and I miss that, man. I really miss that. Like, I don't understand what the hell is wrong with this company. And I understand they went crazy. They pulled the Telltale Games with that series, where it was like every year they had like a new Silent Hill, which is ridiculous. But even like Castlevania, there was a while there, man, where we were getting like one after another, and there's only so much. You know, like
Game Boy Advance and Nintendo DS, like we were treated to very good Castlevania games.
And we were.
And I think the sales were decent. I don't know. Especially Circle of the Moon, man. That game sold well. So
I don't understand. I truly don't understand, and I miss those days now, because it's like this sucks. Like, it legitimately sucks.
I think Bloodstained Curse of the Moon might have surprised them and shown them that there's a market for old school Castlevania games.
I'm really hoping so. I really, really hope so. And I hope that the new one, Ritual of the Night, I'm hoping, because I'm part of that Kickstarter, and they were saying that they're working more and more and more to try and get the look to be as, 2D as possible. And I have really high expectations for that, only because I want another Castlevania game, and it's the closest thing that we can possibly get, and fully orchestrated soundtrack and everything. I'm like, man, there's real potential there, and I know it's been delayed, and I understand all this stuff, but I can't help but be excited for this, and I'm really hoping that Konami looks at this.
Bloodstained with me, okay. Ritual of the Night. I don't want to talk about it until it's released, because I'm very afraid for that game. Because wasn't the original release date 2015 or 2016?
Probably now. Yeah, it's been a while.
It won't be released until 2019 now.
Yeah,
every year there's a new delay. It's if they delay it for a good reason, at the end of the day, if the game comes out and it's amazing, nobody will remember about the delays. But if this turns out into a Mighty Number 9 situation, which it very well could be, because some of these guys, if Inufani and Iga, they're very good at this, but they've never been in control of their own company before. So maybe they're biting off more than they can chew. Yeah, and I think that's what is happening with these games.
I would 100% agree with you. The only difference here, and this is, again, it's only my opinion, but the only difference that I see here is that we've had 2 demos. And that's the difference between Mighty Number 9 and this, is that, I've actually played this game twice now, and both times it's been awesome.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point, but I've played demos that were great that didn't turn out to be great game in the past.
Exactly.
So it's just, I don't want to hear about this game until it's out, because right now, the more they say stuff, the more they promise stuff, it's shut up. Just release the game, work on the game. That's it. Because I've seen Mighty Number 9. The same things were being said with Mighty Number 9.
Yeah, like I say, my only thing that's kept me going has been the last time they released that second demo, and I was like, okay, this is even better than the first time around. So, but again, yeah, you're right that I'm trying to temper my expectations, because I don't want to be, disappointed and whatever. But we'll see. I'm just hoping that Konami is working on something. I really, really do. I mean, it's fine to keep releasing, the classic titles, and I'm okay with that, because it allows other people to experience these games, but it only goes so far. And I am kind of disappointed that Requiem is only on the PS4, because it would have been great to have that on the Switch, especially having Rondo of Blood in its original format, in the original 2D, and then jumping into Symphony of the Night. That is something that I don't know how many people have actually done that, but it's something that I know you would really enjoy that.
And Symphony of the Night, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's never been released on a Nintendo platform before, right? I know it's been on the 360. Yeah. For me, if I was Konami, that's what I do, man. I concentrate on Castlevania, Contra. Bring Contra back, and don't try to modernize it. Just do it with pixel art, or even a new 2.5D style, but just keep the classic gameplay. Release a Contra every 2 years, and everybody will be happy. You won't sell 10 million of copies, but it will be profitable. Contra is one of my favorite games ever, the NES one. When we did our top 10 of games of all time, it was number 5 on my list. I adore that game and that series. The last one that was released was Contra 4 on the DS, and that was done by Way Forward, and it was just a gem. Amazing game. I want more Contra. I want more Castlevania, man. Even Blades of Steel. Bring back Blades of Steel.
Oh my god, that'd be great.
I know it's on the NES. No, it's not actually. Ice Hockey is on the NES.
NES Classic?
Online. No, not NES Classic, but the online Nintendo thing on the Switch there. You can play Ice Hockey, but you can't play Blades of Steel, damn it. I want Blades of Steel. I used to play that game on my grandpa's black and white TV in my room when I was a kid.
Oh god.
but it was still awesome.
Yeah, man.
Face off.
Yeah, I love
It's
that.
a
We need to
pass.
pass. It's classic.
It had voice acting, damn it.
I know, exactly. Voice acting. Oh, God. But it's sad. Like, I can't believe I forgot Contra, man. Yeah, that's true. That's another... Like, what the hell is wrong with you guys? I don't get it. And you have, like, a system right now that's available that's catering to all these, like, indie games and stuff like that. Like, there is no other substitute for like a Contra or a Castlevania. Like, I'm sorry, but there isn't. If you made that a digital only release, you put that on the
I don't care about physical stuff. Give me the games. Like,
just put that on there. Keep your budget low, and I assure you, you're going to sell a lot of copies.
Yeah, because a lot of people, like in the comments, sometimes they say they don't buy it digital ever, and I'm always sad when I hear that, because it's so much simpler for some companies to just worry about making the damn game and release it. Like, there's so many digital store now on every platform, the 3DS, the Switch, the PlayStation 4, Steam, the Xbox One. Like, you can have success that way. You don't need to concentrate on like manufacturing stuff. Like, the profit margin is so low for that when you can just like publish it on the Switch. And if it sells well, man, you're basically swimming in money.
No, exactly. I don't get it. Well, anyways, that's enough of that. For that's nice and depressing. So, oh yeah, look at that. Perfect timing too to wrap this up. Perfect. Absolutely excellent. So, what are you going to be working on over the next 2 weeks?
I would have loved to do reviews, but you're not cooperating. You bastard.
Well, if Cran can get you footage.
Yeah, I asked Cran. She has not played The Messenger. She doesn't have it. And Little Dragon Cafe, she doesn't have it either. Although she was considering it, but I don't want her to buy it just for me to do a review. So that's the problem with this stuff.
Then
you're too lazy.
Yes, that's correct. You heard that, folks. I'm too lazy.
Because my Octopath Traveler, man, that was my best work yet, but I screwed it up. It was way too fast when I recorded it, and that's why I should never do like back-to-back review and podcast. Like, I was way too tired for that one, and I was sad because like the delivery was butchered. Still did okay, but it's just, man.
How did the review itself do?
It did fairly average. Like, I think it's at 350 views now. Lots of comments though, which is fine. But like, if you compare it to some of my other, like my Doom review really hit it off. Like, that was something that surprised me. But yeah, like with The Messenger, like I really wanted that because like I'm sad that game hasn't sold well, which sucks.
Well,
Little Dragon Cafe, I always like to showcase games that people have no idea exist. Like, you have no idea about this game, stuff like that. I always like it when I do that, when I bring attention to games that people don't know.
Oh, exactly.
And Mega Man 11, man, we could have had the world exclusive, damn it, if you would have not been a lazy bum.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't even home, so that was kind of hard. All right, man, so you tell everyone the goodbyes, and then I'm going to just stay silent.
Don't forget about the 10K vlog, damn you. You need to do
Yeah,
that.
I'll only do that in December.
Putting it off. It's just a contest.
Yeah, but I haven't even sent out the thing for the last one, and I know I'm not going to hold a big contest like this until I'm off. When I'm off school, I'll hold it.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Tell the world goodbye, man. Tell the world goodbye.
I refuse. I refuse to leave this podcast. I will hold you hostage.
Then I shall say it for you then. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone else in between. Thanks for joining us, and we will catch you all in 2 weeks with an episode of Nintendo Fanboys. Take care, everybody.